Here we go. Let's do this.
We've got one life, one shot. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Addicted to Betterment, a podcast to inspire us to keep going, to try something new, to dream, to think big, bigger, to overcome. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hey, it's Nikki and David. We're back with Addicted to Betterment. We've been taking some time to look at the topics that we've talked about in the past and seeing the ones that perform better than others and just what we've enjoyed talking about. And I will say we had this revelation of many of our topics were things that we feel we're pretty high on the ladder, climbing the ladder. We just want to sharpen. We want to get better. We're going to teach some of these things we're doing and then learn some things from you all to get better. And we're taking a little turn on, I don't even know if we're at halfway point on the ladder on some of these topics. And we're going to start with one that's really big. And I know all of you can connect with this. And I'm curious the work that you've done and what you've applied so that this really sticks with you in every moment. It's like one of those conceptual things that you're like, okay, I got it, right? But it's like, no, you really have to figure out how to live this in all of the moments of life. And it is surrender. It is the power of truly surrendering and understanding like the efforts that we put in and what's enough mixed with like, where do we let go and allow to live this life of more harmony and peace, because we realize it's not all just us. But you can get in that trap real quickly where you're beating yourself up for something or you're just forcing something to happen. And the magic is in co-creation. And we're just starting to turn a corner. David and I have very similar strengths, and nothing in our top strengths leans towards this natural surrender or patience or allowing. And so we've been building this muscle, and we've got some stories to share and some concepts. We're just unpacking it because we're really learning it ourselves and applying meditations to this daily and conversations daily. And now I want to open up, some of these deeper things where we might have multiple episodes around them. This is one of those, but to really kind of break it down. And we want to get to a place where this really sticks and it lives within ourselves so that whatever is happening on a daily basis, we can apply those learnings of surrender and realize this is not all on us. Like we're doing our part. And what does co-creation really look like? And so to kick off, we're going to be defining what we think surrender is, what it's not. And we'll be telling some stories. And David and I were thinking about some personal stories, and he came up with one. And in this story, he's wearing a life jacket. And when you think of a life jacket, what is a life jacket there to do? It helps you stay afloat, right? And in this story, the concept of the life jacket, the lesson of the life jacket was pretty loud. And so, David, let's talk about this. And I'm going to try to keep my anxiety on the DL.
Well, it's interesting. This is one of those topics I feel like we may be a little lower on the ladder than some of the other ones. It feels like a lot of growing or a lot of climbing left to do, probably for both of us. I speak for myself in that. But, that story around surrender, as you know now, I recognized years ago, I have an intense fear of the water. And so I don't know if anyone can really relate to that unless you experience it. But this fear of the water, even if I just get in, a pool that's 8 foot deep, and once I get in, I can feel the anxiety, rising in me. So we go out early in our relationship and have a day on a lake with your parents and your brother and some friends. And so we're out on this beautiful lake. Your parents have a great boat that's very fast. And your brother is a master boat driver and loves to be, well, first of all, he loves to have gas pedal throttle all the way down to just push the limits as hard as he can. And he loves, I'm sure, a little extra joy in throwing his sister's boyfriend off at that time. So that's the scenario that we have there. We're out on the lake, and you had just gotten done tubing. And by the way, friends, Nikki is a master tuber. It's very impressive, by the way. So anyway, so I got to witness her, and here I am, new in our relationship, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to go on a course?" I'm a dude. I'm not going to say no. And I jump on the tube, and of course, your brother is, bold, and he's like, "I'm going to throw you off," and I'm like, "Bring it on, man. See what you got." So ignorant of me as I look back on this. So we're going about doing the thing, and Obviously, I get thrown off. Your brother Chad, there's no way I'm not going to get thrown off. And he finally accomplished the mission. But when I get thrown off, I land in the water, and I have a very high dollar life jacket on. There's zero chance that I'm going to drown or go under. But the second I hit the water and I've fallen off the tube, all of that fear and anxiety of the water hits me full force. And suddenly, in a matter of a millisecond, I go from having a blast on this tube to feeling like I'm drowning. And Nikki, when I say I felt like I'm drowning, I literally thought, this is how I'm going down. I'm never going to see my kids again. We're never going on another date. All of those things came to my mind as I'm flailing the water with literally every ounce of energy and strength that I had. I'm flailing, I'm gasping for air. The whole time I'm doing that, all of these things are going through my head. I'm in pure panic mode. I know for sure I am done. And it was so ridiculous. I have this life jacket that's holding me up, and all I had to actually do was just relax, take a deep breath, breathe again, and just let the life jacket do its job. Let the life jacket, keep me afloat, keep me above water. And yet in my mind, I knew that I had to save myself. Like, I thought I had to fight and claw the water. And when I say fight and claw, unfortunately, one side note to the story, you recognize the panic. You jumped out of the boat, I think, without a life jacket, by the way, swam as hard as you could to me. And, in that moment, what I felt like saved my life, I'll forever be grateful. Thank you. But when I imagine, people on the boat, the just ridiculousness of, why is he fighting the water like that? Why is he flailing and clawing? And you're just thinking, just relax. But me, in the moment, in the storm, all the fear, anxiety, everything that possessed my mind, I couldn't even see that. All I could think is, I got to fight as hard as I can to save my life. And it was so unnecessary. All I had to do was just relax, surrender, let the life jacket do its job.
Yeah. Well, and some of this too, still, I feel the anxiety of that story. That's still such a real story years later. But some of this too is that it was so new for you. Like everyone on the boat, I mean, my family, we had a couple other friends there. We've been doing this for so long that you've done those flips off the tube and you know how to trust the life jacket and all that. So it was still a very new thing for you. So there is that component that now I know you're now a few years later, we have our own boat and you're in the water doing a lot better with trusting the water and the life jacket, but that takes some time. But just the profound understanding that all of us know a life jacket, right? Assuming that the life jacket doesn't have like a hole in it or something, right? But the life jacket is there to trust and to hold you up. And if you just lay back, it's going to help you float. So I love that personal story, David. And then I was trying to think of a complementary story that's more of a metaphor in life and tie it into some water here. So I often think about life, and when I'm enjoying life the most, I'm in flow state. So, think about being in a kayak on a river and you have a paddle and the river is flowing in one direction. And the paddle you are co-creating with because you could speed up with the current flowing, right? You're going in a particular direction. Obviously, unless you're trying to like go beast mode with your cardio, you're not going to go in the other direction, right? But hey, all with good intention. We're trying to flow here, and so we are paddling with the flow. We are allowing the kayak to go, and we're just a supplement with that paddle. And when we trust that the river is guiding in a certain direction because of like towards an end state, and we're just using the paddle in a wise manner to like avoid a rock, right? Or navigate. We see something coming up and we're like navigating against some resistance that we might see. And so at the end of the day, we all want to be in flow state, and in a river with a boat, we have a paddle. We don't just drop the paddle and just sit in the boat. We keep the paddle to lean into the current, but we're doing it together, right? And I think that's a story of like really what we're trying to do, David and I, is like we want to live in more of this flow state of life. And we're pretty big action takers, dreamers. We do, and things just don't work out sometimes the way we thought. but everything is working out for me and everything is working out for David. It is working out. It's just how we are seeing it. So just wanted to kind of start with like what is surrender and what isn't surrender. So I think I used to think it was like, oh, but I'm giving up or I'm kind of being passive or I'm, you know, not being as aggressive in my normal self. Like I'm not being ambitious and driven. And it's not that. It's trusting the process. It's doing our part and being like, I've done my very best here, right? I'm going to take a next step and try something else, but I'm not surrender is not giving up or being lazy. Surrender is doing my part and allowing and trusting the process of what else is there. It's not just me. David, what would you say in setting this up about what is surrender from a definition standpoint?
No, I think you hit that out of the park. It's not a surrender is not a passive thing. I love how you said that. It's not actually giving up. It's this co-collaboration with God and all the universe, and we are just participating in all of the things, the energetic things that's happening in the world. We are just one small piece of that. And the reality is we often limit ourselves or limit the possibilities when we try to control the outcomes. And I love that description that you gave with the kayak of allowing nature, allowing the things that are happening to dictate the flow. And you're just doing your part to guide and participate in that. It's participating in it, not fighting against it. And often, and whether it's business or personal relationships, like you said, things don't go as planned, or we don't get the outcome that we so strongly thought we earned, we deserve. We did all the things right, and it doesn't go our way. But detaching from the outcome and surrendering to this is leading me to the next thing that's going to be even better. Allowing nature and all that is to just guide us toward that. And it sounds so woo, and it sounds like so for people like you and I, like, no, we can create our outcomes. Yes, we can in co-collaboration. It's not us, determining the outcome, but actually just determining the process, committing to the actions, and allowing everything else to be as it should be. That's a really great story that you just gave.
So as I said this might be multiple episodes because, we're just in the maybe middle of the ladder as we've been applying a lot of this, I don't know, teaching and daily techniques and meditation and things like that daily. I'm trying to think about now that we've kind of shared how do we define it? What is it? What is it not? What are these core factors that have to be at play for this to work? And so I was thinking, I mean, you have to trust. You have to trust in something bigger than yourself, and you have to believe in the concept, right? Trust and belief have to be there, really, for anything. But this is so big in this because surrender. We're taking away the control, so we have to trust and we have to believe in this. And it's focusing on what we can control. There is some control in it, but then releasing what we can't. Right? I'm doing my part, but I'm releasing the rest. And I'm going to stay proactive in the stuff that I can control. Those are some of the things that come to me, David, and just like the foundational building blocks. What else comes to you?
Yeah, complete control is an illusion. It's an illusion rooted in fear. So when we think of, my boat experience, me trying to completely control everything that was happening while I was in water, one, it's an illusion. There's so many things happening that I can't control. And two, it's anytime we try to completely control the outcome, it's rooted in a fear of trust, of because if I just trust and let things happen, they won't happen as I in the best way possible, or what's best. When the reality is it actually happens better when we do the work, do the things, and just surrender and trust. And so complete control, while myself, it's something we struggle with because it's how we're wired. We want to do the things and control the outcome of the relationship or the deal or the business thing or whatever it might be because we know what's best, when the reality is that is a complete illusion. It's not even possible. And we gain much better results or experiences when we do the actions, but submit, surrender, whatever word you want to use, let go, to what is, and then and allow nature and all the things to guide us to where we're supposed to be.
Yes. So when you think of trust, one of these building blocks, and someone is like, okay, this whole concept, maybe just getting started in surrender. And they're like self-admitted, I am a control freak. You're not alone. There was actually a study I was just talking to Dr. Rosie Ward about where think that the percentages were almost one third of people have this in their top like reasons they're stuck. She has like this stuckness zone concept. And being a control freak is one of the main reasons why we get stuck. Right. And so you're not alone. We do it too. But I'm like, okay, if trust is a building block, how do we bring this to life to really adopt it? What comes to mind to you, David, with like how to trust in surrender?
Man, I love that. Understanding surrender doesn't mean inaction. It doesn't mean a lack of action. It means alignment. Surrender isn't a lack of taking action. It's finding alignment. So, surrender isn't about passivity. It's about aligning our energy with the highest good and taking inspired action rather than trying to force things through struggle and resistance. That's often the difference is we're trying to force things through struggle and resistance versus just finding alignment. And once we find that alignment, that's where the trust really comes in play. It's not a lack of action. I think people that's a concept that people like us struggle with. Like,
Yeah.
no,
I'm
come
not
on.
doing enough. Yeah, I got to
Exactly.
do more. I got to do more. And then it like leads to this anxiety and burnout.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah.
100%.
I was thinking too, and I know, David, this is so foundational for you that you might even overlook that it's part of the trust factor in a huge way is, trusting means that we accept or know that we're not, as an individual, the sole architect of our life. Like there's a greater force at work. And sometimes it's so hard in the seasons of life that are real messy. You're like, are you really out there, God? Are you really there? And then other times in life, you're like walking side by side, like locked arms, right? But just knowing that even in the hardest times, God, the universe, like is here. Like it is, we are not alone. There's so much surrounding us that, I mean, allows my trust to really be there.
I think what you're describing is so critical in inner peace. When you really embrace that trust and letting go and commit to the process, as you said earlier, fall in love with the process or doing the things. And then that co collaboration is, hey, I'm going to do my part and I'm just going to fully trust that the other part is I'm going to fully trust that the life jacket is going to hold me. And, when we don't do that, we live in this lack of peace, this constant inner warfare that we have in our mind with fear, anxiety, all the things. But truly, the only way to find inner peace, real inner peace that is not based on external circumstances. It's one thing to have peace when you just got the big bonus check or you just got the big deal and suddenly you're like, oh man, I'm abundant and everything is good. But it's that inner peace when you know that, man, I don't see how it's happening right now. I don't know how this plays out because right now it doesn't feel good. It doesn't, nothing I see feels good, but I know I'm doing my part and I'm showing up and I'm trusting that the life jacket is going to hold me. The outcome is going to be what it should be. That's where inner peace really comes from. And I think that's kind of the most critical part of this. One part is achieving better than you even imagined by surrendering. The other part is living life in inner peace, a peace that really allows you to enjoy the present moment. Otherwise, you can't enjoy the present moment.
So I have a number of creators that I follow on TikTok, and some of them right now are on this theme about they do the snapping thing where they're like, everything is working out for me. Everything is working out for me. And I mean, I don't know what it is, but I mean, they get thousands of views on this. It's just, that's it. That's all they're saying. Everything is working out for me. And there has to be something there that is filling the cup of so many people because there's a lot of them that are doing it. And so I think about, just that we're about to talk about belief, but trusting and belief, they're cousins, sisters, right? But there's a lot of compliments there. And I think about that belief and trusting that everything is working out for me. And it makes me think of the song. I always go back to this in certain times of life. Garth Brooks, Unanswered Prayers, where just like there are so many times that we are praying so hard because we think and we believe that that's the thing, that relationship, save this relationship, right? Because I don't want to go through that divorce and I want to get this figured out. And I'm like, thank God that my prayers from my past marriage did not get answered because I never would have met David, you know? And so just looking at even sometimes the universe, God, our Lord, is doing this stuff in the background, orchestrating for us when it's not even the things that we're working on. Like they're the opposite of what we think we're doing, but just that profound, I don't know, depth and inner peace of we're not alone from way beyond this human experience. We're not alone. But then the people that we have in our lives, like having my husband, having you also provides a lot of peace in that trust category too. But I don't know if you had anything else around the trust, but moving into belief, which I said is a strong cousin or sister of this, David, do you want to talk more about the belief around surrender?
Man, I think if our friends listening to this could grasp this truth of what you just said, literally, and we said nothing else except that truth you just said, that, I have my own personal experiences, as every single one of us does. I think quickly of a deal I was working on in work, and I fought as hard as I possibly could. It was the biggest deal I had ever worked on for the company that I worked for. And it was the biggest deal in the history of our company. And there was so much potential and so much, and I saw the deal happening, and I knew I could get the deal done. And I knew this was going to happen. And I'm already envisioning the results of it, like what it does for our family, what it does for us, what it does for our company, all the things. I mean, I was fighting internal warfare in our company, fighting against circumstances, people fighting against me, all the things. And I saw it coming to the finish line. And I put, Nikki, every single thing I had into getting that deal done. I mean, I was law of attraction, manifesting, praying, all the things, doing the actions. Like, I'm not just hoping, I am doing relentlessly every single day pursuing this. And the deal fell through, and it caused so much friction, so much. I mean, I was personally devastated. I worked as hard as I had ever worked on a deal. And in my mind, in that moment, how can this not go as planned? How can this not happen? Now, further down the road, I look back on it and I'm thinking, that was working out exactly as it should. And it propelled and was the accelerator of some of the best opportunities, dream scenarios of my entire life. Like the level at which I could do a whole episode on this exact thing if I had been able to be better at surrendering during that time, but I wasn't. I fought, I clawed, I tried to, manipulate, get the outcome that I knew was best. And there's a lot of ways when I look back on it, I think, man, I handled that so poorly, all because I was not surrendered. And it taught me a very, very, very good lesson that I honestly will never forget as long as I live. Do the work, give everything you got, but just truly believe, rest assured the life jacket is doing what it's meant to do. I tell you, if I ever experience that again, which I've experienced different versions of it since, but I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I'm unwavering in my belief that this is working out exactly as it should, even though it doesn't feel like it right now. I know for certain that better things are ahead. That is what this is all meant to do. So that's where this profound truth, if what you articulated, if we get this, it's truly the secret sauce.
You just said and believing in there are better things ahead or something like that. So looking at trust and belief, and I was like, oh, they're cousins. I mean, sisters, really close. My good old friend Chat GPT 4.0, I just asked to help me break that down a little bit. And this is interesting. If we redid this right now, which we're not going to, we would start with belief and then build the trust because basically it's saying, okay, trust is external. And, our goal is to trust the bigger picture beyond just like what is right in front of us. And our trust is built on external things many times. And this is just so interesting. So if we look at like a reflection exercise, write down 3 times in your life when things didn't go as planned, planned, but ended up working out in a way better way than you would have ever expected. That is like a trust building exercise. It's an external situation, right? Whereas like belief is internal. It is the core belief of in surrender itself. Otherwise, like a lot of the like trust examples aren't going to be applicable because we don't believe in the act of surrender. Isn't that interesting? And so here's like a quick like little homework is to ask myself, do I truly believe that letting go can lead to something greater? Right? Do I truly believe that? And then, like, a mantra for belief is I believe that surrender allows space for something greater to unfold and believing that, right? Like,
Oh, that's so powerful. Because as you were saying that, I was thinking if everything had worked out as I was working my tail off to get it to work out, it would have been a disaster of epic proportions. But at the time, I'm pursuing this as hard as I could because I knew this was the dream scenario. But our divine course that was planned for us knew that it wasn't and was working things out for me. Even though in the moment I'm thinking this is dream scenario, but thank God that it didn't work out that way. And now I look back and I'm like, man, life lesson, David, you're not going to have to learn that one again. Understand, trust, lean back into the life jacket. Know that this is going to hold you and this is meant for something better. Our divine guidance is leading this to something much more better, much significantly greater than what you had in mind. And what I had in mind, I achieved the outcome, the exact outcome that I prayed for and manifested, law of attraction, it would have been a disaster, but I didn't know that. And it's like, wow, I'll never have to learn that lesson again.
yeah. Wow. So, in summary, we probably would have flip flopped because we're learning about like the internal versus external. But, if you look at trust, since we started there, it's external. We're trusting in something bigger than ourselves and that things are going to work out. And a lot of times our trust comes from validation because it's happened. We've seen it and then we keep building trust, right? Belief is internal and believing in the power of surrender even before we have proof, right? Like that's belief, the trust is that external and it allows us to keep building. So both of these like require a lot of practice. So I'm going to say, David, let's take it back. We're on the third step of the ladder, I believe, right now. Now that we dove into this a little bit more. So both require this practice, and it's never like, oh, I've mastered this, right? Like because you're going to get thrown off the ladder, and to get back on, you're going to have to like practice again to get back on that first step. And it's just this constant practice, like yoga is practice. But belief is the foundation. And then once we believe, then the trust becomes easier because we get the at bats, right? Like we're doing the things. So it's interesting. Now let's talk about belief is the building and then trust. And then it's our part going back to what is it not? Surrender. What is it not? It's not like, oh, I'm just throwing my paddle in the water, just see where the kayak goes. We still keep our paddle. And so let's talk about what does co-creation look like in surrender as a way of life?
Wow, there's a lot there. If you just recognize we are in a 50-50 co-collaboration with all the divine forces that are. And if you don't believe that, then that's your problem because that is the reality. That's a scientific fact. That is real. So understanding that I can sit and do my meditation every single morning until blue in the face and do it for 24 hours a day, but nothing is going to happen unless I take some action. So it's a 50-50 co-collaboration, doing the thing, but releasing the outcome, really falling in love with the process and knowing that the destination is the process and just doing it daily. So, I have 3 action items that I thought would help us with this. And it's funny because this really ties into the first one is it's a daily practice because it's not natural. It's hardly natural for someone to be completely committed to this co-collaboration. Either it's someone who is like lack of action. They have these ideas and they're hoping that something happens and they just never take action. Or it's kind of someone on the other side of the fence was where you and I would find ourselves is we're taking all the action in the world and it's maybe not going as planned. And so I would say the one critical piece to this is the committing to the daily practice. It's got to be a daily practice of constantly refining, because it's not something that comes natural really for anyone. It's that daily practice of just committing to surrendering the results of all the actions that you're taking, still planning the actions, committing to them, being very strategic in the actions that you're taking, but surrendering the outcomes to those and practicing it daily.
Yes. Yes. The constant efforts of, yeah, taking the action is so key. Like the meditations that we've found recently that are surrender focused, and there's something in there that's kind of like the life jacket, this one we're listening to every day, around when it's cold outside. When we hold our breath and it's cold, all you do is shiver more versus if you're in the cold and you just breathe. I don't like cold weather, but lately I'm like, okay, when it is cold, I'm going to try that again because I'm always like shivering in cold weather. And I think it's because it's in my mind and I'm like forcing against it versus just breathing into the cold. That's probably how people like do like the cryotherapy things and the ice baths that I've never done. I mean, it's true. Like I've watched people do it. They're like breathing with it and they're not shivering. But it's this like regular practice. And I was thinking about, just as a example of going back to Garth Brooks' song of unanswered prayers that I think about a lot. I'm so grateful for that. And just trusting it in the moment, like rather than at the time, it's like, why aren't you hearing me? But then later you look back and you're like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You just don't see it at the time. I think about co creation and the journey of marriage for me. So I've shared before that I've had some, I've had some more hurdles than maybe other people, or profound hurdles in my past before finding David, with 2 divorces prior. And gosh, I used to not even be able to like share that out loud. And now I'm like on a podcast for all to hear. But I look at co-creation of a marriage that I have now that David is never, ever not in the first 3 gratitudes that I either am saying in my prayers or writing down in my journal, looking at my journal from this morning. He's number 2 right here, right behind God in my journal book for gratitude. And I look at the journey of, I kept my paddle in hand all throughout looking for that marriage. I could have just thrown the paddle out and said, marriage is just not for me. Like I'm not worthy of it. I had some religious teachings in the background that are like, I've messed up and I'm a sinner for life and whatever, all these different things in my mind. And I kept my paddle and I kept pursuing and working on myself and getting really clear with like, who would this partner be? And the miraculous way that David and I met, like, I mean, just going back to like, we met through a dating app and I had a 10 miles max from where I wanted to match with someone. And he was 50 miles away. And so just I think something way bigger than us, it was happening. I could control that app. I could put 10-mile radius, but something went way beyond that for us to be able to find each other and then to be able to have 2 broken roads of past divorce situations and challenging relationship journeys. But to a place now, is everything perfect? No. Are we still working through things a lot? Do we ever fight? Absolutely. But the end goal or the end result of like, he's always in my top 3, like 1, 2, or 3, always. I've found a healthy marriage that's not ever going anywhere. Are we going to constantly be working on it? Will we have challenges? Sure. I'm saying the co-created journey of like not giving up, not surrendering, but allowing like God's guidance to help us find each other, and then be doing a podcast with my husband. I'm like, there's my example.
Well, thank you for keeping the paddle in your hand.
Yeah.
Definitely grateful for that. It's interesting when we imagine, that's just another scenario of how you just described that. If you had tried to control the outcomes, or, at some point you had to surrender to what is and still do the activities. My hope is this story that you just shared and the ones we've already shared, the goal for this is the encouragement that if you're in a season in life right now that just doesn't seem to be going as planned, or maybe you're like me and you're in the water and you are seriously flailing and clawing at the water and trying to keep yourself, above water, just know the life jacket is there. Things are going to work out for you. And even though in the moment it doesn't seem like it, and I know that feeling, as we all do, we can all relate to that feeling. But I promise you, when you surrender and trust, that is when you can find inner peace and truly find that desired outcome. And it's interesting. The second action step I have is go with the flow, not the force. Don't try to force the things. Allow the flow to happen. Do the activities, and that how you just described the keeping the paddle, going with the flow of the water, steering yourself, using the natural flow and doing the activities to do the things. And so that's the second action step. First one is practice it daily. Second is go with the flow. Don't force the outcome. Don't force or manipulate what you think is the desired outcome, because I promise you, the divine guidance within us and around us has a much better outcome than what we can even imagine. And we limit ourselves. We limit our experiences, the successes that we have, the peace that we can enjoy when we try to control it ourselves.
Well, I think that's a wrap. And thank you so much for just taking some time, David, to break this down. I know it's a topic that we've been working through and daily, like I said, doing these meditations and things, and it's helping us start our day in a better place. And as I took our example of, gosh, the level of failure that I felt and alone, and where are you, God, during my last divorce before I met David. And now I'm thinking about where I am today in this category of my life wheel. I'm thinking of another area that I'm really, really struggling with. And I'm like, gosh, and I have been working to practice with these meditations in this particular area, just allowing and doing my very best and doing my part. I am doing that. Right. And I just keep doing that every day. Just all we can do is give it our very best every day to be a co-creator towards that end result. But we just have to have peace in knowing we're doing our part, doing the part to be able to get to that wanted outcome, whether that prayer gets answered or not. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Like, how do you apply surrender? How do you think about it in some of the things we've shared? What's similar? What's different? What are some of the practices that you're using? We will continue to be on this journey for a while. And David, I think we're at a wrap.
I love it. Final thing, release expectations, welcome and embrace surprises. Believe that, great surprises and great things are ahead.
We'll see you next time.
So you just listened to this episode. Now, join us in being addicted to betterment. Please subscribe to the show, share with your friends, tag us, and please take a moment, leave a review. Yeah, we do want your stars, but we really want the feedback.